Hello everybody and welcome to Civ House, or welcome back to Civ House. Either way, we're glad you're here, and I'm Rob, and today we are going to be taking a look at leaders, specifically older leaders. And what I mean by that is leaders like Augustus and Catherine that have found their way into Civ 7 after being in past Civ games, but with leaders and Civs disconnected, it's a little bit easier for us to potentially get some of the older leaders from past Civilization games. So, I've come up with a list of 5 leaders who I think should be finding their way into Civ 7 who are from our past. Let me know which leader you would like to see make a comeback before we dive in here in the comments section below. I also want to point out here real quickly that I am not gonna say Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan would have absolutely been in it, but there's rumors already that in the Right to Rule, DLC that's coming out, that Genghis Khan is supposed to be coming back from that. So for now, he is gonna be, I guess, the 6th leader. But I at least wanted to throw that out there that he would have absolutely made it into this, as he's a fun, interesting leader. But he's already coming back to the game, so why mention him? All right, let's get started here at number 5, and that's going to be Alexander the Great. Look, Alexander the Great was basically a leader of multiple civilizations anyways, right? That was his whole thing. He was partially Greek. He was Macedonian, which was kind of separate but kind of the same, right? He would take over a lot of Eurasia, right, which was a really big deal. Worked his way all the way into India, and saying that he would be an expansionist in this game would probably be a disservice to him, just because of the fact that I don't think there's still been anybody who's had an empire. The Romans may have had a bigger empire, but it's close between them and Alexander the Great's empire. And what would be really cool about him is that you'd have that expansionist, right? You'd be able to maybe even get new units other than the hoplites in there, which I think would be really, really cool, to say the least. But what would also be really great is I think cultural would work extremely well for Alexander. And the main reason why is because he went around and spread the culture all over the place. And I know that we don't have loyalty in the game, but I feel like if they were to re-add this and allow for culture to really take a hold and allow him to be an expansionist cultural leader where he can influence city-states a little bit easier, but also even maybe the towns and cities of neighboring nations, to allow him to potentially take them over just through the fact that his culture was so strong. I think that'd be really, really fun. Alexander would just be a great one. He's one of the only civilization leaders, I believe, that has been in every single civilization game. So it feels like it would be a shame for them not to put him in the game. It feels very likely as well that Alexander would make it into this one. So I'm going to be putting him here, at 5. Now we're going to go to number 4, and we're bringing her back, Joan of Arc. What an awesome, awesome character in history. Somebody who did so much with even such a small amount of time that she was a leader, that she was out there, being all militaristic and everything. And I'm not going to try to only do militaristic leaders. I'm going to try to do a spin on them as well. But a lot of the leaders from old Civilization games were generally like, high up political military people. So most of them had some sort of connection to military, but Joan of Arc's one that you kind of have to. It's a shame that religion is not more prominent in the game, because Joan of Arc would be religious, probably before anything else. But what we could do instead is we could either go down a cultural or a diplomatic one with a militaristic. And I think that I'd be more willing to go diplomatic, because she was trying to keep people from fighting. They just always ended up fighting anyways. So it would be fun to see her, kind of going more towards that route than anything else. And I think that she would add such a unique and different sort of style to the game than what we already have in it. And that's not to say as well that Joan of Arc shouldn't be more readily available in games like this as a very prominent leader, especially for France. They've had plenty of different prominent leaders, but it would be fun to also see her kind of contrast the style of one of the Napoleons as well, which would be really fun. Number 3 is going to be Saladin, actually, from Arabia, specifically, in the past games. I believe the last one that he was represented in was Civ 5. Might have been Civ 4, but I'm pretty sure it was Civ 5. And he'd be another one that I would love to see be a little bit more, diplomatic / cultural. Yes, he would probably fall into a similar thing as Joan of Arc. I would say maybe more expansionist than militaristic, but yeah, I think you could go either way with him. But he's a prominent figure that, did a lot during the Crusades, and was somebody who was able to really, expand his empire in a pretty significant way and solidify power when so many others had failed. It would be fun, like I said, to do religion with him as he really spread the Islamic faith, but unfortunately, they have not made significant strides in religion. But I think it would be cool for them to do an expansion where they more impacted religion and they added Joan of Arc and Saladin in an expansion together. It looks like they're doing 2 leaders generally in one, and they could do some really cool religion title and have these 2 added in. They would definitely be ones that I know I would be looking forward to, and it would be nice to see, somebody like, Saladin, is such a prominent figure, make his way back into the Civilization game. Next is going to be Winston Churchill. Yes, I didn't know. I guess maybe I'd forgotten that Winston Churchill was back in the game, back all the way with Civ 4, I believe, and it's sad because, I played a ton of Civ 3. I didn't own Civ 4, but my friends did, so I would play it occasionally. And then I really played a lot of Civ 5, 6, and 7. So the one game where Winston Churchill was most prominent was the game that I didn't really get a chance to play. So a little bit of a disappointment, to say the least. And I would love to see him make his way back in here because, man, oh man, he would be something else to try to go against. I think diplomacy would be his biggest one. And I would want to say expansionist maybe might be the other one, to be honest with you guys. You could go militaristic, but he wasn't really necessarily a huge military guy, right? He wanted to keep the empire strong and together of Great Britain, and he only fought against Hitler to protect his people. He didn't necessarily want to go to war all the time, right? He wanted his own glories, and he fought in the wars that Great Britain was in, but he was really about the preservation of the British Empire more than he was about being militaristic. So I think he would honestly fit perfectly with Great Britain, right? And it would be hard to argue differently, but I would love to see him, take over a fledgling and, initial, city, civilization, and grow it up into Great Britain or whatever else you would want to for the modern age. Having Winston Churchill at the beginning of history would be so much fun. He's one of the most interesting characters in all of history, and I feel like it's time to bring him back in Civ 7. Now, before we get to the end, before we get to the number one choice here, I am going to ask that if you've enjoyed this video so far or found it, entertaining, at least, hopefully informational as well, that you would end up giving this a like, and that you would subscribe if you enjoy Civilization content like this and other types, because Connor and I are putting out new stuff here at Civ House for the Game House on a nearly daily basis. And we just love the community that we're building, and we love interacting with all of you and all the different comments that you guys, show us. So joining this, Civ family of ours would be fantastic, and we would love to have you here. But let's hop into it. The number one leader that we want back here in Civ, and one that I think nobody's going to be surprised by, is Gandhi. Yes, our nuke-loving, peaceful, just awesome individual leader of Gandhi, and he is so much fun, and one that I think would fit very well right into, you know, the diplomatic and the cultural route. I think culture would probably be his number one, but diplomacy could be too. Could be pretty big. Maybe an influence-based leader as well, where you know, he is maybe similar to Harriet Tubman, but less on the science route and more maybe on the influence or the cultural route. Either way, Gandhi would hopefully be a little bit more peace-loving than what we've had of versions of him in the past. But he, like Alexander, is one of the leaders that has been in every single Civilization game since they started doing leaders. So it would be a real shame to see him not make his way into this game. And it feels like it's more of a matter of time thing for him as well than if he's going to get in. And that's why it had to be number one for him. I wouldn't even hate if they decided to change things up from what we've gotten from the leaks and go with Gandhi, you know, coming this year with the Right to Rule with the Right to Rule DLC pack as well. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed these 5 leaders that, you know, old Civ leaders specifically, that Civ 7 should bring back. Let me know if I missed any that you think should come back, what you think they would be. Maybe I'll make another one of these videos to highlight some of the opinions that you guys have. But that is going to wrap it up for us on this one. So, from our house to yours, thanks for watching, and we hope you'll join us for one more turn.